I'm the science here at CHEJ. And for those of you who aren't familiar with CHEJ, I'll just say a few words that we provide organizing and technical support to grassroots groups nationwide. We were founded in 1981 by Lois Gibbs, the woman who organized the community at Love Canal in Niagara Falls, New York. And so what we're here today to talk about is landfills and hopefully some strategies for fighting back. And the way we thought of doing this is, we always have a lot of interest in landfills. It's obviously one of the big issues we deal with. It's the issue we dealt with, Lois and I, at Love Canal, the neighborhood built on top of a toxic dump site. But we thought we would do something different this time. And rather than have myself or somebody present about all the problems of landfills, and I think you all have a good feel for that, I'll just say two things about landfills in general. And that is one, I've been doing this for over 40 years. And the thing I've learned most about landfills is they all leak. It's just a matter of when. The way they're designed with double liners because they know the first one's going to fail. They're designed with monitoring system because they know the system's going to leak and it's going to fail, and it's just a matter of when. And so what do you look for and when are you going to see it? So they all fail, they all leak. There's problems with all of them, but they're thought of in society as a necessary evil, so to speak. That what are we going to do with our waste if we don't put them in a landfill? Do we want to burn them? It's one or the other generally. And of course, there is a third alternative, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with, and that's the whole notion of, reducing the amount of waste we generate and moving in that direction towards a zero waste. But we're not there. We're all dealing with landfills. We're all dealing with the problems that they generate. And so we thought we would bring some folks who've been dealing with this for a while and let them share some of their experiences and strategies that have worked for them. So what we put together today is a group of 6 people, some from 6 communities around the country, including Bristol, Virginia, Harrison, Ohio, DeKalb County, Georgia, Bridgeton, Missouri, Watkins Glen, New York, and Bristol, the representative from Bristol who's here today is in Virginia, and he's going to talk about some of an experience he has with a group he's been working with there. So we have 6 different folks who'll talk. I think we're ready to kick that off, and the question we've asked each of these 6 people to address is this. And the question is, share one story, action, strategy, tactic that you're most proud of that helped move your group forward. So that's the question everybody's going to be addressing. And so out of that will come some ideas. So we're going to start off with Yvonne Taylor. Yvonne is with the Seneca Lake Guardian. And I'll just leave it at that. So Yvonne, you get to go first and just say a little about your group, and then please answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. And thanks to CHEJ, Stephen Hunter, for organizing this today. My name is Yvonne Taylor. I am the vice president of a grassroots organization called Seneca Lake Guardian. We have been fighting to protect and preserve the clean air, water, and thriving agritourism industry in the beautiful upstate New York region for over a decade. Our current battle is against New York State's largest landfill, ironically called Seneca Meadows, which makes it sound far more beautiful than the behemoth putrid mountain of garbage that it is. It was slated to close in 2025 when its permit expires. However, Texas-based Waste Connections has applied for an extension to keep operating for another 15 years and make it taller than the Statue of Liberty, including its pedestal, if it gets its way. It currently accepts 6,000 tons of garbage a day from 47 counties, 4 states, and Canada. As a result, it generates nearly 70 million gallons of PFAS-laden leachate a year, the toxic forever chemical associated with many negative health impacts. Only 1/5 of that is treated, and the rest gets sent to wastewater treatment facilities where they don't have the mechanism for removing that PFAS before the chemicals get discharged into our waterways and drinking water sources all across New York State, making it a public health issue. Sadly, the facility is located in the birthplace of women's rights, the historical town of Seneca Falls, New York, which has now
Yvonne, you're
become
breaking up.
a disadvantaged community, rife lung cancer clusters, premature death. I don't know what to do about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Can you hear me okay?
that's okay. That's okay now. Yes. We didn't hear the last minute, last 20 seconds.
Okay, sorry about that.
You're freezing again.
Okay, so I was talking about Seneca Falls, the birthplace of women's rights. Bars. You want to come back to me?
Yeah, well, if we continue, yes. Try one last time, and then if it doesn't work, we'll come back.
How about her if she shut off her video? That might help.
Did you hear that, Yvonne? Maybe shutting off.
Oh yeah, why don't I, yep. How's that? A little better?
Yeah, so
Much
far so
better.
good.
Okay, sorry everybody. So what I was saying is the landfill is located in the historic town of Seneca Falls, New York, which is the birthplace of women's rights, which has now become a disadvantaged community
Yvonne,
rife with elevated levels of lung cancer clusters,
Yvonne, I think we're going to have to come back to you.
COPD, premature birth deliveries.
Yvonne, I think we're going to have to come back. Yeah, thanks, Hunter. Can you send her?
Sure.
Yeah, it's just not working, Yvonne. You're sounding like you're in a time warp. Sorry.
I'll try and move to a different location and you can come back to me.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's move on. Joel Kellogg from Hope for Bristol is next. Joel, can you go? Wherever you are.
Yep. Hopefully get Yvonne straightened out because I was intrigued by her story. So I'm Joel Kellogg. I'm the current president of an organization called Hope for Bristol. Hope stands for Healing Our Polluted Environment. So we formed in late 2020. We're incorporated as a 501c3 in 2021. So we have in Bristol, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee are actually split right down the middle on Main Street. So if you're on the north side of Main Street, you're in Virginia. If you're on the south side, you're in Tennessee. So in the late 90s, somehow the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality decided that they would permit a quarry landfill in the city limits of Bristol, Virginia. So fast forward 20-some years later, we've got a mess. It's a 17-acre site, but it's 200 feet deep. They stopped quarrying in quarries because they can't keep the water out. So it's wet, it's hot, it off gases something fierce. We've charted 98 square miles of these emissions. We were able to make enough noise that we got the city of Bristol, Tennessee to actually sue the city of Bristol, Virginia. That finally sparked some interest from the government of Virginia, who convened an expert panel, and they came up with steps, with solutions to try and mitigate this disaster. So, big win for us in September of 2022. They stopped all intake in this landfill. Since then, this city is responsible, 17,000 residents, for over $30 million right now in repairs and it's still nowhere near being fixed. It's a long story. But you know what? I'll go ahead. I'll put my contact information in the chat. Anybody wants to reach out and talk, I'm always happy to talk. So to get to the question, so number one, I got to say visibility. Visibility is the key. Okay, so we distributed over 1,500 yard signs. But the most successful thing that we did was we set up twice a month at the city council meetings outside peaceful protest. Okay. If you're trying to stop a landfill, these people have got more resources than you ever imagine. You can ever imagine. They're going to paint you as derelicts, as troublemakers, as whatever. Okay. They are going to attack your credibility. Whatever you do, you have to make sure that you shout out loud and clear that you stay within the law at all times. And anybody involved in our organization or in our public groups followed those rules, or they were out. So twice a month at city council meeting, we spoke, we set up outside for an hour. We also staged what we called the rallies for relief, because we're trying to get air purifiers in our homes. We're trying to get this thing stopped. So every Saturday, and we started in September, I believe, or October, and we went every Saturday throughout the whole winter. Not so bad in Southern Virginia, Northeast Tennessee, but still cold, miserable, rain, whatever. We set up at the highest visibility intersection in town, and actually in between the two cities. So we were out there with our signs, we blared music, we talked to whoever came by, we got a lot of press. And we did that consistently. We took off Christmas Day, but we were there New Year's Day. And we continued until we actually got some action and we got a consent order to mitigate this disaster, try to mitigate this disaster. So visibility is the key. It really is. And not just visibility, but in a good way, in a productive way, in a legal way, even though you don't sometimes feel like that. A lot of times you don't, but you have to keep your credibility if you want to make any traction.
Great. Thank you, Joe. That's great.
Thank you.
Right. Great ideas, great thoughts. So next, let's move to Lisa Wynn and Sonia Hen from Dump the Dump in Ohio. Excuse me, Ditch the Dump.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sonia. It's nice to meet you. Lisa and I are from Harrison, Ohio. A little bit about our area. It's very oversaturated with industry, pollution, and it's almost nearly impossible to safely distance yourself in our area. We are fighting the expansion of Rumpke's Bond Road Site, Inc. This landfill is located on a steep hill, which has two streams that originate within the landfill as well as the creek. And in a very short distance, this goes to what's called Whitewater River and then to the Ohio River. So we have the potential to affect a lot of people downgrading it from this landfill. One of our greatest concerns is the history of this site. This site was actually owned by Browning Ferris Industries and Monsanto from 1965 to the late 90s. The landfill was actually listed in the Eckert report, and it received what we feel is an inadequate screening site investigation for the Superfund status. The original waste that Monsanto put there is from their plastic production facility, and they were producing PCBs in the 60s and 70s at that facility. The original waste is unlined on this landfill, and it still exists there. So they have recently acquired several hundred more acres, and we're worried about the pressure on the old cell and what has already been potentially migrating over the last 60 years. This landfill was listed in the Ohio versus Monsanto PCB case. And so that's a concern for us too. And then I'll take it to Lisa.
Yes, in that lawsuit, the state of Ohio won $80 million for remediation of these properties where all these PCB and other hazard chemicals were dumped. The suit was filed in our county, but we did not receive a dime towards remediation. So that's kind of alarming. In the general area, we also have a uranium superfund site. They have another property 12 miles away, which is the largest producer of methane in the area. We have a Duke coal burning power plant, and we also have a closed Chevron refinery due to groundwater contamination. And they want to put 577 acres of municipal waste right in the middle of that. Our biggest accomplishment, I think, it's just luck too, is the group of people that we have. Our community varies in strength as far as getting behind us. Their attitude is not, I mean, they support us, but they don't do it in large numbers. I guess they do, but our team that really pushes it is a gentleman that's named Tim Mayer. He's a retired attorney, and he's on the board of the Oxbow, which is a migratory bird sanctuary downriver from the property. There we have Bob Getter, who's a professor at Xavier University and teaches global warming, and is past president of the U.S. Recyclers Association and has closed 3 landfills. We have Sonia, who's an amazing researcher. She has gone. She has the records for the Ohio EPA probably next to her bed because she's searching constantly. The information she has come up with is amazing. It's all documented. It's right there in front of us. It's right there in front of the Ohio EPA. And now we just gotta push it and use this information to our advantage. We have other people, Debbie Kesterns, who is always behind us. She was in an original group that fought the landfill prior to this. We also have the Sierra Club involved, and myself. I work full time, but I like shaking trees. I like calling different organizations. I've talked with more representatives. I have daily calls to Region 5 EPA in Chicago. I have a number of contacts there that they know me. I call them a lot. The ODNR, because we have an endangered fish in an exceptional warm water body that is adjacent to the property. And that's what I guess that's our success, is in getting people's attention, making it known and letting other people know that this isn't right. There's laws, there's regulations, there's rules against what they're doing, and we're going to hold them all accountable.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you both, Lisa and Sonia. Great. All right, let's move on. Another good idea. Clarence Williams, you're up next from Chapel Hill Organization in DeKalb, Georgia.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. Clarence Williams. I live in Decatur, Georgia, South DeKalb County. We have North DeKalb County, South DeKalb County. And the landfill that we're dealing with is officially called Seminole Landfill. Our name for it is the Beast. When I moved here 30 years ago, the landfill was probably about as high as an anthill. Now it's bigger than Stone Mountain. The thing we're most proud of is that back in 2022, we attended the CHEJ call that y'all had on landfills. We didn't know a lot about them. We just knew our landfill smelled and a lot of other stuff. But after we attended that conference, we on Zoom, we were shocked. And we did not realize how bad that situation was. We didn't realize that it was connected to several things in our community, be it Metro Green, which is putting stuff in the air 15 miles away, via the school, which has a high rate of cancer, and a lot of other things. They're all kind of connected. We are proud of the fact of this. It's kind of funny. We got all of the information, scientists and folks, and we knew we were not going to be able to sit there and tell the community what we found. We've done that 15 other times before. So we had to find another way to reach the people in the community. So we had a student, we had a Generation X person, we had a college student. We gave them a series of questions and we told them, here are the things that we're having problems with. Tell us why, tell us how you would do them. And surprisingly, one of the people in the neighborhood, they actually described this person. This person got super mad with us, and they had the news folks come out and do a story on the landfill. That was great because it brought the attention, which you do need. The bigger thing was that the attention they brought and the story that they thought what the real reason was for the landfill, which we were telling them, the trash on the hill is the least of your worries. And that's what they were focusing on. Now that the stories come out and we're a year later, the smells are still there. And now the people are beginning to understand that human beings can't smell methane and that the smells are not coming from that trash on the hill. They're coming from something much more sinister. And now they're beginning to ask those questions. And so I just simply say, you got to get people thinking in a relatable way. And the person that kind of helped me with this is a guy named John Hardy. He's up there in the Virginia area. I don't know if he's on this call or not. He was on the CHEJ call, and I reached out to him. And so I would tell you, reach out to people. That's what we're proud of. We reach out to people, people help us on this call, all across the board. And the information that you get, a lot of times, if you present it to the community as yourselves, folks are not going to pay attention to it. But when you give them something and then they look at it from a different point of view and they start thinking and asking those questions, now you got traction. So we got some traction here because of that. And it's going to be very interesting over the next year, see how these things run out.
Great. Perfect. Great. Thank you, Clarence. Really good. Next we have just moms, STL. Karen or Dawn, whoever is going to go first.
Hi, I'm the one that's speaking today, but Karen's down waving. She's on as well. We are Just Moms STL. We're a moms-led, women-led nonprofit in St. Louis, Missouri. We formed almost, I think, a little over a decade ago to fight against a landfill in our community called the Bridgeton landfill and the Westlake landfill that one was experiencing a huge fire that was putting off hazardous emissions into our community, and the other, just a couple 100 feet away, has Manhattan Project radioactive waste laced between the two. So we had a fire that was swiftly approaching radioactive waste. It was kind of the beginning and makings of a catastrophic event. So I very quickly picked up the phone, Karen and I, and called Stephen Lester. We Googled, is there anyone who can help us even begin to organize? We didn't even really know where to start, other than we were collecting data and requesting data through the Sunshine Law, and obviously FOIA requests from EPA, who has authority of our radioactive waste. To make matters worse, our landfill, the one that was experiencing a fire, is majority owned by Bill Gates. It's Republic Services, which is the second largest landfill owner. So this is a Fortune, 500 company backed by enormous amounts of money that had so much PR bullshit that could throw, and they did. I mean, there were mailers coming out saying everything's fine. You know, if any of you guys have ever, I'm sure you have, been at your counter or wherever and gone to cut an onion and your eyes just start to burn and that's what it was like daily. And it would happen in the middle of the night. That odor would come in to our homes. And unfortunately, our landfill has no liner. It is a Brickell landfill, so it is from the 1940s. It's when you could throw anything and everything away. So it is a super fun site on its own because of all the hazardous waste there, which is currently still burning. But also on top of that, on the national priorities list because of the radioactive waste. So I can say that was the best phone call Karen and I made was to Stephen Lester and CHEJ because it didn't take long for them to come out and do a training in our community. So I would just encourage everyone, if you have ever gone through any of the trainings from CHEJ, they work. You know, when we did a lot of direct action and visibility, and what was, I think, the key to the success, I'll get into my favorite, but the key to success for all of them is truly doing what Lois says. Forget what you think you know about how change happens. And when you go to make your goals, your long-term goals and your short-term goals, every action is, you know, you bounce it off of those. Is this going to help us achieve one of them? Is it going to move us a step closer? I think the other thing that Stephen taught us and helped us with is, you know, our group, and I'm sure many on this call, pretty good at reading documents now and looking over data. We're not scientists, but many of us, I'm sure by now, are self-taught and can hold our own. And so for us, our superpower is teaching others how to do the same, including elected officials, and really not just asking elected officials for help, but seeing if we can grab a staffer from them and spend, you know, maybe 45 minutes or half an hour every few weeks with them, just teaching them how to look so that they can call out the crap, right? It you know, one of the things that this landfill was really great at, with unfortunately for a while the help of the Environmental Protection Agency, was spewing their BS to agencies and elected officials. So we had to teach ours how to read and see through them. And once that happened, the tables started turning pretty quickly. One of my favorite actions we did, I spoke about earlier, was have a few of the groups go and respectfully shut down Earth Day, at least the booth where our landfill ended up being a co-sponsor of. And you know, one of the things we did, it was uncomfortable. There were some Earth Day staffers that were probably not thrilled with us, but we brought in, you know, there were a lot of people in our group that wanted to do direct action. And then there were some that were uncomfortable with that, right? And they kind of wanted to do the behind the scenes educating and advocating. So we created a platform for all. While some of the group were out there, you know, with their signs and whatnot, explaining what this sponsor of Earth Day had done to the community, others were reaching out to board members from other organizations that were green that had also sponsored it, explaining why this landfill right now, who was being sued by our state of Missouri, shouldn't be allowed to sponsor Earth Day of all things. So, you know, I wish that I could say that organizations, even some of the traditional green ones, change their views simply by educating them. But it has been our experience that sometimes they need to be made uncomfortable as well. Sometimes that's the route, and it's just something you have to decide. The other thing we did, which you know, was we were very careful not to do anything illegal, right? A lot of our demonstrations were informational, if you would, but the landfill owner actually hosted a Halloween extravaganza and had a bounce house on site. for kids to come and bounce in and employees. So some of our community members stood out with signs with facts from EPA about the dangers of the site. And that was probably one of my favorites because we had a lot of employees that reached out to us afterwards that were like, okay, we had no idea. We weren't told, the employee, and, thanked us. So that's a little bit about us. Again, can't say enough about how important though these trainings are from CHEJ. They work.
Thanks, Don and Karen. I know you're nodding, but we're running a little short on time. Yvonne, do you want to try again, or should we do one last one?
Sure. Can you
All right,
hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Just go right to your question if you would. All right.
Sure. So I think what I'm about to say is a very common thread that we've heard from all of the participants today, which is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Educating and informing is key. We have a solid waste management problem in a throwaway culture. And, you want to make your situation the poster child for what not to keep doing. Despite the fact that the multi-billion-dollar corporations and all of their propaganda will try to trap us in the current system, we need to keep pushing, particularly the fossil fuel industry, which is responsible for making all the plastic that ultimately winds up in landfills. Keep pushing them and the waste corporations toward a more zero waste management system with a circular economy. And our success has been, we've turned our community issue into a statewide issue. Thankfully, the Department of Environmental Conservation in New York State has just issued its own solid waste management plan, which is, if implemented, a roadmap toward a zero waste circular economy using landfills as a last resort. And we have at least 40 legislators behind us now urging for the closure. We've connected with indigenous peoples in our area. The Cayuga Nation is near the heart of our landfill. And also statewide organizations who, again, as Dawn mentioned, sometimes need a lot of pushing to get involved. But you want to be the pleasantly persistent person who makes sure that they do get involved. And so, I hope that you'll save the chat from this discussion and that we can all connect and continue to collaborate together, because it's very easy for these multi-billion-dollar corporations to just pick off one community one by one. But if we all stand strong together and continue to work, there's a potential that we could get some federal legislation that would utilize landfills as a last resort. And I would love to collaborate with people on that.
Great message, Yvonne. Terrific. Okay, last is, but not least, is Jason Torian. Jason, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Jason Torian with Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League. I actually am from Person County, North Carolina, where we have a landfill, Upper Piedmont Environmental Landfill, which is a regional landfill that's owned by Republic Services. And that was actually my introduction to Bristol, was as a member of PC Pride, which is a group that was fighting, has been fighting that landfill for several years. It opened in the mid-90s, and it's in a rural community, older rural community, just north of Durham. You might not know where Person County is, but you probably have heard of Duke University. It's about 30 minutes north of Duke University. So the group, had opposed its opening, then opposed its expansion. It formed a Bristol chapter in 2005. I didn't become involved with PC Pride until after that. It was formed in 2005, and they were successful in stopping the landfill from expanding for about 20 years. They came to the county, the Republic came to the county commissioners in 2005, 2007, and again in the 2010s trying to expand. And ultimately the group was able to stop it several times. They, just by promoting environmental awareness in the community, being, vocal about it, protesting, they filed a lawsuit in 2008. But ultimately, the state did pass a law that allowed landfills in North Carolina to operate for life of sight. And that bill was actually sponsored by our own state representative, which which brings me back to what another speaker said earlier, the importance of engaging, elected officials, political candidates. And I would say too, prioritizing your vote. You might care about this issue or that issue, but you gotta be paying attention to what these people stand for, and if they're going to support your environmental goals or not. So I guess one thing I would say, and this group did a lot over the years, but one thing that really stands out to me, and this wasn't necessarily something that stopped the landfill from expanding, but it was something that was very positive for the community, and that was they were able to start an MRF, which is a materials recovery facility or recycling center in the community. They presented this idea to the county. This was during the landfill fight, and it was just a way that that ended up reducing the waste that the community was creating. It created a lot of goodwill with the community, created green jobs. So I think that's something that the organization should be really proud of. So I mean, yeah, I guess that kind of answers the question. But the other thing I just wanted to say is that just from watching this, the big thing that jumps out to me that I think all the groups need to hear is that you have to have people on the inside. So that some of these things are happening, because it's easier to stop something before it happens than it is after it's already there. And so just having people on the planning board, on economic development commission, because you don't always have to run for office to know what's going on. So I think just having people on the inside, kind of knowing what's coming down the pike, so you're not blindsided by it.
Jason, you were muted there.
Yeah, that was all I had.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great. So thank you to all our speakers here. I think we've heard some really great ideas and suggestions and thoughts, including visibility, collaboration, persistence. There's a lot that goes into this. It's hard work. You all know this, it's hard work. So let's open it up to questions now. We've got at least 20 minutes or so.
This one is all like that.
Hold on. What I'm going to ask is that, hold on, please. Just what I'm going to ask is that people kind of raise their hands if possible. They can put questions in the chat and we can read them out of the chat as well. Just identify yourself and just the name of your group, if you would, please, the organization you're with. That's it. And just be quick. And you can ask a question to a specific speaker if you'd like, or just in general, and we can respond. Okay. So
Is that the front door? Or is that the front door?
Renee, do you want to have? Okay.
I'm also going through the chat right now.
Okay.
Jamie Nedwink is asking, could we make an email list for this group that has where we are fighting or social media database, brief description of level of fight we are in? I can actually answer that. In 2022, we tried making a landfills working group and no one really responded to that, but I also know the reason as to why. So I have all the information from the previous one that we could start sharing again, if that's something you would like to do again, Stephen.
Well, we could talk about this, but maybe what we could do is as a follow-up is ask that question of you all, and those of you who would want to share it can fill that out, and then we can, send it back out to everybody. So we have always found it very valuable. People have always, I think, found it valuable. Clarence mentioned it earlier, that getting contact information for other people is a great way to learn. And, I mean, what we've always said at CHEJ, if you want help, you have to be willing to give help. So, that's what people do, is they talk to other folks who are in the middle of these fights, and you learn a lot from somebody who's been around for, in Dawn's case, 10 years. So it's so I think that's something we can do. We can do a follow-up to this and ask the question and have a few places for you to fill in your name, your organization, and contact information, either a phone or an email or both, something like that.
Before we get to Jane, Mark asked a really important question. So Mark is asking, how do you counter the threat of increased garbage rates, money being paid to local governments for hosting a landfill, and purposefully ignorant elected officials who only care about the money?
I'm going to turn to the panel. Anybody want to answer that? Take a shot? I'm sure some of you. All right, Joel, you've raised your hand. Go ahead.
I'll go.
That person like, oh, they were sneaking around my house. They didn't knock, but you know.
Hold on.
All right.
Okay.
Hey. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Joel.
This is part of.
Well, there's several different approaches, and of course now, you know, our poor partners in Bristol, Virginia, are paying $48 a month for trash collection. Okay, they wanted that to be $138, but that finally got enough people off their hind ends that didn't happen. We find and back candidates to change local government, because change starts with one person, and it's one voice at a time. You have elected officials. You know what? We're not in an area that's big enough really to affect a vote, but if you make enough noise and you get enough attention, then you start to affect areas that can affect a vote. So again, you just have to be loud. You have to focus on the future. And you can just go ahead, put it out there that, you know what, these folks are in it for the money. They could care less about you or me or our grandchildren or our pets. And we had pets choking and dying in the middle of the night in our community. They don't care about that. They care about the dollars. So you need to redirect that. Redirect your anger towards making common sense and reasoning with the public. And if you do that, you know, like I said, we made enough noise. We got the city of Bristol, Tennessee, to sue the city of Bristol, Virginia.
Yeah, that's great.
That was critical. That was key right there to our fight.
All right, great.
That's how you do it.
Yep, great. I think Clarence had his hand up, and then Don. And then we'll take another question. Clarence, you first.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing that Joel is saying too. We're at the beginning stages of getting people to understand that our elected officials have not been held accountable. And we're linking that with the fact that they've not been held accountable, and we're having a lot of adverse health conditions that are related to what they are not doing for the community. So that's the stage that we're at kind of right now. Joel, them are ahead of us, but again, like I said, that's something John talked to me about when we were discussing this issue. So I think that's the key thing. He said it's just plain. The officials are only in it for the money. And I can't say it any better than that.
Thank you. Thank you. Don?
So one of the things we learned from you is that all landfills leak, and that most landfill owners know this, and to look closely at the landfill insurance policies, right, that they take out, that they have. But also, in our case, we had shareholder reports. So while the landfill was saying, oh my gosh, this is going to devastate us, even though they were backed by Bill Gates and a Fortune 500 company, the elected officials started to buy in. But one thing we did is we looked at their shareholder reports. So they were having to legally report to their shareholders what fixing the landfill and what doing the work on the landfill was going to cost the company. So the price tag for everything that they were being sued for by the state of Missouri and asked to do was on there, what they thought it was going to cost. And then we could still watch trading, right? They were still making money hand over fist, and their shareholders were pleased and happy, even with them reporting the money that they were saying it was going to cost to fix the landfill. And then over here on this side, they were telling the elected officials, oh my gosh, this is going to destroy our company. We can't afford to do this. So we had to educate the elected officials. And as Clarence said, in a few cases put some heavy pressure. So I wish educating was always enough, but sometimes it's not. And to Joel's point, having some sort of following on a platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, something that has numbers attached to it, because those equal votes in the eyes of the elected officials. But you can also view, if there isn't a shareholders report, like I said, you can look at their insurance policy. What are they covered for in the event something is going on that they can then fall back on, that isn't necessarily going to take away from their bottom line and give them an excuse to raise rates?
Yeah, right. Great points. All of that is exactly right. So, all right. So let's go right to more questions if there are any.
Jane, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Three of us are on the call from an organization in northwestern Pennsylvania called CHEJ, and we're dealing with radioactive fracking waste. The state has allowed every municipal landfill in the state to receive it. There are at least 30 receiving it now. And so I'm just curious to know if any of you are dealing with that.
We're dealing with radioactive waste. While not fracking waste, ours is from the Manhattan Project. First of all, my heart goes out to y'all, because that is some dangerous stuff. And it's horrific. We're quite aware of what you all are going through, but also radioactive waste is very difficult because it's industry, right? You are fighting Department of Energy at the end of the day, right? And the federal government. And unfortunately, because of the whole nuclear power and everything like that, there's a real effort behind squashing any attempt to say that fracking waste is dangerous with radioactivity. And it's sometimes easier to admit for the federal government the other toxins that are in it, and for them to completely skip over the radioactive part.
Yeah, it was encouraging this week to hear that they're finally going to be regulating PFAS. And I don't know how quickly that goes into regs in terms of, because that's one of the additives in the fracking fluid often. So I don't know if how quickly that'll get regulated.
Yeah, I'd love to connect with you outside of this and see if there's a way. We've got some tricks that have worked. Some of them have come from Stephen. Yeah, some tricks and some tools that have worked. So I'd love to connect with you after this, and let's see what we can do to help.
Thank you.
Okay, any other all right, Daniel. Unmute yourself there, Dan. Dan, we can't hear you, Dan.
Good morning.
Here we go. Good morning. No. All right.
Good morning.
Yes.
I'm calling from I'm in Shepherd, Montana, and we are in the fight of our lives against a toxic landfill they're putting in our neighborhood. It's a rural area. We have acreage rather than nice big manicured lawns, but we are a very grassroots group. We found out about this landfill in October, the end of October. And at that point, when we found out about it, we were already into 5 days of the 10-day waiting period for public comment. And we rallied so fast, we quickly had 300 people in our group, and we got the landfill public comment extended for 30 days, which was a victory in itself. But my concern is this is going to be the first toxic landfill in the United States for shredded automobile residue, which is loaded with PFAS, And in Montana, believe it or not, it's not deemed as hazardous. In other states, it is. So we are on a mission trying to get help from wherever we can in the United States. And I see one of our group leaders is on here also. I don't know if she's on video or not, but we've got these three ladies that have basically turned the Department of Environmental Quality upside down with their research and stuff. So we have our fingers crossed, but we're fighting big money. And sadly, we have to fight Department of Environmental Quality because they were trying to push this through without anybody knowing about it practically. And the land was even bought under a DBA, finding out that the owner is Pacific Steel and Recycling. And I just want to say that I really learned a lot from this meeting today, and we are fighting hard, and we have our fingers crossed. The decision is going to come down at any time. This landfill was supposed to be operational in January, so we've caused some issues for them. It's now they don't have a completion date. Of course, they don't have a permit. But so keeping our fingers crossed, and I just wanted to say that this is an awesome meeting.
Right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. We might talk some more. I mean, we might be able to help you some more, but not now, after the call.
Okay.
We have a lot of people's hands up here and not much time. So if you could each take 2 minutes, we can get everybody in. Tamala, you go first.
Yes, so I am working with trying to get information from your municipality about a legacy landfill that had industry tire and rubber for decades, as well as carpets put in there. And then I am have just started a project with the Environmental Working Group for identification of pollutants in the Conneaut Creek watershed, which is going to be a model for doing it in watersheds all over the country. So if you're interested in having input in this project and having any help, we're wanting to create for the phase 1, we're just dealing with Conneaut Creek watershed in South Central Pennsylvania. Like I said, we're just doing a model, but we're going to be collecting data from all over the country, right? From EPAs, USGSs, and a whole bunch of data. And, we'll be, housing it, storing it. And then we want to be putting it into a map that's,
Hey, Tim, if you could put that in the chat, that would be great. And then we can contact you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. But we'll be wanting to put it into a map for that's like how is my watershed and the PFAS map by the PFAS exchange, something like that. But it'll have all kinds of data because data is siloed, right? And individual communities are having data on microplastics, data on PFAS, etc. But they're all siloed. So we're wanting to bring it out of the silo.
I would like to move on, Tamala, okay?
Okay. Okay.
And chat. Thank you, though.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Hey, Jamie, could you go next? We're just very short on time.
Absolutely. I'll make it quick. My name is Jamie Netwick. I work at the River Valley Organizing out of Ohio. Also, our community group is madcad.us, Madison Township Citizens Against the Dump. Right now, we're fighting a proposed landfill called West Point Renewables, a parent company of Vogel Holding. It borders a wild and scenic river, pristine, that also has endangered northern hellbenders. The proposed property sits on top of strip mining and old coal mining. We're an old coal mining town. It's like Swiss cheese under there. The EPA had advised the company actually not to even work with this property. There was an error with an email that they had sent out. So we were able to get the comment period extended. It's till this April 19th, here in a few days. I'm trying to get it extended even further since they only since they didn't put out any press releases or anything against it or taking blame for it. So I'm looking for people to send in some comments. Please reach out to me. I put my information in the chat. I would really appreciate it. If there's anybody else who's going through something similar as well, I did see Harrison, Ohio. I will be in contact with you so we can coordinate and see if there's anything we can do to help each other. Thank you, everybody.
Jamie, you should get a copy of our How to Fight a Proposed Facility guidebook. It's a great cookbook for stopping these things. It's on our website. I'll send you the link.
I will absolutely look into that as soon as we're done with this call. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Next is B. Walton.
Hi, so my name is Bob Welton, and we're fighting a Waste Connections C&D landfill in Rensselaer, New York, which is just across the Hudson from the state capital of Albany, New York. And my question basically is, anybody done any soil testing or know how we can go about it? Because you talked about, liners leaking. We think probably there's some of that going on, but we have no way of proving it. We've discovered PFAS. We've gotten them to test for PFAS. There's PFAS by the tons and gallons in the leachate. We also have pushed them for better air quality testing. The facility is like 200 yards from a school, 1,000-person public school. It's ridiculous that it's even there. But anyway, I'll try and keep it short. So we got them to test for PM 2.5. They put a monitor on the roof of the school, but now we're trying to push them to test for what's in the air, because it's really what's in the air that's going to make the difference. It's a combination of all those toxins that those kids have to breathe every day. That's the important thing. So if anybody's got any articles, I've sent a lot of articles. Anybody wants to give us some sort of statement, something we can use, we'd love to have that.
Check with the local universities, the environmental studies.
We're working with, we've done a lot of stuff. So we've got a lot of that going on, but we always need more. We need all the help we can get. CHEJ has given us 3 grants so far. They've been a great help to us. And so we just keep pushing. I'm just looking for more all the time.
Okay, I'm gonna answer part of your question, Bob, but I'd like to give Annalise a chance for a quick last-minute question.
Okay,
you have to be quick because our time is over.
Hi, okay, I just wanted to chime in with what Dan said real quick. I'm with the same group, Stop the Shepherd Landfill. We have a website, www.stoptheshepherdlandfill.com. I just wanted to throw it out there. It is an automobile shredder residue landfill, which we haven't found there's a single one in the United States. So if anyone has any information on that, I have a ton more questions, but I just wanted to throw that one out there. And then I saw someone in the chat was suggesting to make maybe like a spreadsheet to put all of our contact information together. That would be great, so we can reconnect with each other too.
All right, great. All right, so let's wrap up. Thank you all for being here. We will do this. We will send a follow-up with some questions asking for, if you want to be a part of this, and if so, provide your information and we'll share it with everybody. We're also going to make available 2 guidebooks we have on landfills. One's called Trashing the Earth, which is a general organizing and science piece on the problems of landfills and what community groups are doing. So some of the kinds of stories that you've heard today are included in that. So Trashing the Earth, we'll send you the link. The other thing which might be helpful to some of you, including Bob in particular, is we have an annotated bibliography on health studies that have been published in the literature around landfills. And so we're in the process of updating it right now, but the current version would be available and sent to you as a follow-up. So it's just published papers, studies that have been done by mostly researchers at universities, but also some government agencies, and just connecting. They're not always proving that these problems or these health problems are resulting from the landfill, but there's an association. And it's another piece of evidence you can use to say, hey, look, this is part of why we're looking, we need more. We need something else. So I want to thank you all for coming. This is our monthly series. We'll have another one in May with a lady named Mary Grace, who's going to do a piece on individual fundraising strategies and ideas for how to raise money. And so we will send you the follow-up, which will also include the recording of this, and we'll internally brainstorm some other ways we might be able to share some of the ideas that were raised here. I mean, you know, we also have 2 organizing guidebooks that include some of the things that Dawn referred to in terms of just the overall organizing plan strategy that we, you know, share with everybody. You know, the 4 simple steps of organizing, simple maybe, but not so easy to carry out. We'll send you those links as well, because we think there's really valuable things, you know, approaches for how to deal with the problems that you all have. But thank you all for coming. We're here also if you have specific questions. The folks from Montana, we've dealt a lot actually with shredders. It's been a long time, but we can probably share some very specific stuff with you on shredding. So please give us a call, contact us directly, either me or Hunter in particular, and we'll get back to you and help you all keep doing the great work that you're all doing. Thank you all for doing the work that you do and for being here. Bye for now.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you.
You're welcome.